Good morning, everybody, and a special word of welcome also to our online participants. For us Africans in London, we are so used to being on time that we're a bit shocked at the London timekeeping, but we'll adjust as the day goes. It's clearly a London disease, lateness. Thank you very much for everybody who are already present and online. This is our second edition of the London Indaba. 2 points. The one is, I do speak English, so there's no translation service. Just pay attention. It's slightly different to the London version, but it's as good as it's going to get today, so pay attention. And the second point is, Indaba is just a gathering, a conversation, and that's what we try to do. Have a blunt, honest conversation about mining in Africa, the importance of mining to the continent, and the importance of the continent to the future of mining. I think it's a fantastic, logical conversation to be had. I need to thank Paula Mansi and the team from Resources for Africa. They've done fantastic conferences for us in the mining industry, in Johannesburg especially, and since last year in London. Paula, your team, and your extended London team, I'm looking forward to it again. If it's anything like last year's, it will be a great success. We are about conversation, you won't believe it, not about money, and yet a conference costs a fortune, and it can't be done without sponsors and especially industry partnerships. So I thank all of our partners. Thank you for financially contributing to making this possible. As I said, the format is truly going to be, if you come here with too thin a skin, it's going to be a challenging format. It's open and robust. My Joburg sarcasm causes lots of trouble outside Johannesburg, so I'm going to try and be as constrained and restrained as I possibly can. But I bought a 10-year visa, so I should be allowed back next year anyway, so I'm going to be my normal self as far as possible and apologize afterwards. It is possible for us to have, thanks to the disastrous COVID lockdowns, we have built an online platform, and so about half of our audience today is going to be online, but the conversation in the room is the main one, and we facilitate participation online, so you should not have to worry about any of that. I have gone 4 minutes into not reading you the upfront instructions about evacuations. So I'm guilty as charged. Let me find them and read it to you. So we have not been informed about any training or testing of alarms and so on. So in the event of a full-scale hotel evacuation, conference delegates will be evacuated to the hotel forecourt area. You will be held there until given further instructions. I was about to say you may be held there until you get repatriated to Africa, but I'm not saying that at all. That would be politically so incorrect. And I mean, when I had to prepare for the opening address, I got distracted, and so this morning I thought, I'm sure, I don't like this AI. It sounds very like different English to mine. So instead of using AI to write me a speech, I went on to Twitter. I mean, Twitter is so much more like to the point. But I do think if you're on any social media, the conversations about mining in Africa and the future minerals is all over the place. We're at a fantastic stage where there's not yet too much consensus. I like that. Once there's consensus, there's a lot of groupthink, and that's when misallocation of capital happened on steroids. So I like where we are. There's fantastic opportunities, humongous challenges, and the future is going to be different to what anyone of my age probably think it's going to be. So you can't find Africa, so I'll point it out to you. Somewhere there in a dark blue left, bluish color, just underneath Australia, squeezed out by India, is all of Africa. Now, for those of you who are new, Africa is not a country, eh? You guys know it's a continent with a couple of countries, a couple. I'm in London. This is not even necessary to say that. There are jurisdictions we have to remind people Africa is a continent, multiple countries. And as you can see by some metric of GDP, I mean, the world is about Europe, USA, China. Just nothing surprising. Even Twitter gets that right, huh? This is all from Twitter. I even show you where it comes from. So the population of Africa is part of the supposed theme. I'm not a complete believer that population growth is automatically translating into anything. But if African politicians get their act together, then the number of Africans in the world will make it even more significant as we go forward. So if you just look towards the right and you find the sub-Saharan Africa pink color, you can see that is where population growth is going to be over the next sort of decades. So if you think I feel old, you young people, remember you're going to be flippin' old when those Africans are the Africans that determine where the world is going. I also don't buy this, but I mean, you know, there has to be a story, and damn it, mining company shares are so cheap, you know. If we can all just sell our tech and other shares and buy mining company shares. The point really is, in terms of attracting money, mining is still not achieving a lot. And this is not specific to any jurisdiction, obviously, although this is a S&P 500 graph. So if you look at the mining sector as a whole, I mean, we are just so tiny. So on the right-hand side is Apple. And then you see all of the silver and gold and copper companies combined. And then you see gold, John, I mean, that's obviously mostly Barrick, but a few other rats and mice as well. So in the world of capital allocation, the big narrative, the talk about the future minerals is clearly not ending up in mining companies, and that will certainly be explored by real experts during the 2 days. Again, I'm not standing behind any of these graphs' factual correctness, but I think we all have this lived experience. It takes damn long. So the nickel price goes up, everybody discovers nickel, the nickel junior share prices go up, and we forget to say there's somewhere between 15 and 18 years before permitting is done. It's long lead times to build mines. I'm not making a particular point other than the mismatch between the world wants minerals and we need to discover them and build them. There's almost a generation sometimes between those. I have an interesting Twitter feed now. You guys wish you had this feed now. You just have to block all politicians and then you get to people like this on your Twitter feed. I have to confess that I'm one of the owners of the only non-Chinese manganese beneficiation businesses in the world, the only non-Chinese one in sunny South Africa. And when people talk about battery minerals, I just smile because the miners should be doing the mining and the OEMs should be building cars, and the space in between is humongously different to mining and different to car making, and totally controlled by China. Again, I think it's a point we're going to unpack. This is an oversimplified one. When I speak to an audience that is all about that space, we unpack, you know, the precursor, cursor, battery manufacturing even further. But today, we're going to sometimes hear people speak as if having announced a mega factory somewhere in the US means the minerals are already available. We're going to hear some interesting confused views during the 2 days. And I'm just one of the confused views, so let me not blame others for confusion. So I certainly can tell you that the IRA has caused huge dislocation. I think history is going to be kind to how it achieved certain political objectives. History is going to be unkind as to the misallocation of capital that will come from it. But it is absolutely real. And per sub-element of the battery chain, you can see how that is supposedly going to make America, the US, independent from the rest of the world. I don't like this slide because manganese doesn't even make it because there's so many manganese mines out there. Or so the story goes. This is another busy slide. It just shows you everything that is black is China. And so China totally dominates the space. That is why we did get the IRA. That is why the EU are talking the way they talk. But this is a statement of current reality. And then, of course, the current reality has resulted in shiploads of electric vehicles being shipped to countries who were caught napping and are currently implementing all sorts of protective measures, which 5 or 6 years ago they would have called uncompetitive. I personally, and we're going to explore with our first speaker, China, the real China, not the Western media version of China. And China has actually done more than any other country to reduce the dependence on nickel and cobalt. Now, you can agree or disagree with the need for that, but those sort of middle 3 bars on the left-hand side shows that it's China's moving away from high nickel and cobalt that has really moved the whole world's supply chains into a much better position. And the prices of batteries are dropping. If nothing else is a clear mega trend, then the cheaper batteries become, the higher their application should be throughout the world, and certainly in battery electric vehicles, amongst other things. But World War III, which everybody seems to be looking for, there's actually only one place to be, and that's South Africa. That's the purpose of this slide. Okay, so last time I checked, there were no nuclear warheads targeted at Nelspruit in South Africa, where my business is. So the rest of you mess up, have your elections, fight with each other, have your world war. At the end of it, I don't know what I'm going to do with my manganese. Now, obviously, geopolitics is a little bit more serious than this, but I do think we live in such interesting times that investment decisions is quite challenging. I'm going to introduce you to our platform, and this is why we have a platform. Because the questions at conferences, it's not only academic conferences, is often an opportunity for people to show me how clever they are. You've always wanted to work in the fact that you've got a cum laude MBA from Princeton. And that's not quite what our questioning platform is for. Often you wonder, did this person attend the session because where does this question come from? Often people want to share their wisdom through questions. So that's not what we're here for. So the next slide, you can see there are 1 or 2 interesting questions that really add to the conference. Those are the ones we're after. Shall we call them the diamonds in the rough? So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to ask you to not turn off your phone. Your phone should be on silent, but it can be on. It sounds like an airline hostess now. You need to take your... I always forget, this is a QR code. One day I'm going to get it right. It's about 15 years now that I've been practicing. If you point your phone's camera, in my case, at it, it generates a little link that says Slido. You click on the link, and you are in the online electronic platform. It's exactly the same. This is where the in-house audience, in-person audience, and the online person comes together. We will regularly ask you poll questions. There are 2 things to be done here. Just click on the Q&A heading, and it says type your question. I have found that, especially us older people who still type with one finger, it's amazing how brief we can be if we have to type the question ourselves. We have no PA or assistance. We must do it ourselves. It makes for fantastically short questions. So that's the purpose of that. You have to type the question. It comes through to me. I put it to the panel. So this is your interaction platform with the speakers. So please work with us. Quite simple. Of course, if the question comes to me just after the end of the session, it's too late. So try and get your question to me in time to put it to the panelists. Then we're going to do a few polls to just give you a sense of how it works. The first one is a practice poll. So if you all click on polls, you'll see the first question I've got up on my poll, if it is up for everybody, is attending an African mining conference in London makes perfect sense because the weather is always great. I do have a sense of humor, you can tell. London's weather is always great. Clearly, London, after Brexit, needs financial help. It's so logical to be in London because all the African and Russian wealth is already here, so we're just following. I'm not going to tick that one that says my partner loves summer sales because she's watching me. Okay, it's tongue-in-cheek, but you get the drift of the thing now. So we'll put polls to you. The audience will engage. We've got more people online than what has participated, so I'm very worried that this audience is not technologically capable of doing a poll. Shall I torture you and wait until we get to 200 participants? That was the practice one. So can we move on to the next poll? And this is really a quick preparation for where we're going with the conversation. I'm just waiting for the next one to come up, please. I hate these simple binary questions, but the world loves a bipolar world. So geopolitically, African countries' future lies with China, Europe, US. This really feels like the elections we just had in South Africa. About 10% of the people come. Half of them spoil their ballots, and the other 3 people get to decide who's the next president. Democracy is such a weak form of governance, hey? Okay, so we'll take that conversation about China, its role. Why is Africa thinking China's more important in our lives? Quick next question, please. Thank you. So the 30-odd institutional investors, analysts, would interpret the mega trends of critical minerals, future minerals for themselves, but it's always interesting for me to see how they interpret what is 10 years out into today's investment decisions. So the question is, where's the best place for institutional investors to be exposed to critical minerals? Thank you. Obviously, all the BHP bulletin shareholders just believe that that's the future. Thank you. So during the day, people will make wild and bold statements, hopefully. We then check with the audience to see whether the audience agree. We call it a BS barometer. Now, in different countries, BS stands for different things, you know. In the mining industry, often BS is associated with bullshit. So you can think of it as a bullshit barometer. We just check in with the audience. So if I say there's absolutely no impact through coal mining on the climate, I mean, we can't let 200 intelligent people sit and listen and be tortured without testing whether they agree or not. So this is where our speakers have to be quite robust. We may check in and say, would the audience agree with that? And the BS parameter is always a badly phrased question because I phrase it on the spot. English is my second language, so of course, complete confusion with that. But we will check in with you and say, okay, the speaker just said the following. Do you agree with that statement, yes or no? So we're going to do a quick yes or no question, and then we're done with the practicing. we are ready for the world. Do you agree with this statement? Right now, democracy seems to produce really, really great leaders. The Americans, if you can please just refrain from voting. Anybody from the US, just don't share your thoughts with us here. I'm beginning to really like the UK system. I mean, they just have elections every morning. Like you wake up and there's another election. And okay, so we screwed up, but let's go again. Okay, this was a real mess, but let's try again. One day we're going to tell them you've got more than one party to vote for. You don't have to vote for the same party every time you vote. Excellent. Okay, good people. We are absolutely ready to go. You've got the platform. We will use it through the day. Thank you again, especially for the people who have subsequently joined us. My privilege is to start the conference in the way it should be started, and that's to have a conversation with somebody who can truly speak on behalf of an industry, somebody who's seen it all, who's done most of it, and continue to do it. So, ladies, gentlemen, please join me in welcoming John Thornton, Chairman of Barrick Gold Corporation. John, please join me. Thank you.